Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Caw. I'm delighted as ever to be joined by the one and only Keith Jackson. Keith, how's it going?
Oh, that was a traumatic evening all round, wasn't it?
It certainly was.
Jekyll and Hyde from Celtic, hide and seek from Rangers, and rawhide for Aberdeen, who get their bum smacked all over Athens. And for a moment,
they can just stay in hiding.
And for a moment, and Fraser's obviously outside Celtic Park just now, about to jump into the mix zone, so we'll get straight to him. But for a moment at Celtic Park, I think for the first half hour, it looked as if it was just going to be, an absolute horror story of an evening all round a week before Halloween. But there you go. Celtic managed to turn it around, showed a bit of guts, character. And Fraser, it feels like the mood is up a little bit on the final whistle.
Not to drag this car theme out too much for last week, lads, but that was heading towards a right car crash for Scottish football tonight. But a bit of civic pride restored, thankfully, here at Celtic Park. Keith's right, the first half. Do you know what? I thought the first half Celtic looked good up to a point. They were undone by an absolute wonder strike that did come from their own kind of sloppy passage of play. But I thought they looked through to Netgate. I thought Arne Engels looked in the mood tonight. I thought they actually looked good up to a point, and it's that same point as we've been going on about for weeks. Just the lack of a striker, a lack of a killer instinct in front of goal. The sight of Kelechi Iheanacho hobbling off after a couple of minutes, quickly followed by poor Alistair Johnston, who was only making his first appearance in 2 or 3 months. It just looked like the roof was about to cave in the Celtic again. But fair play to them. Came out the second half. I didn't think they deserved to be a goal behind at half-time. Up the gears in the second half. A couple of fantastic goals. Again, didn't come from the strikers. They had to go with Johnny Kenny when Iheanacho came off. And doesn't quite look like a finished article, especially when he was going clean through and goal a couple of times in the first half. But you know what? They went up through the gears in the second half, took control of the game. And I've got to be honest, I think Celtic were very comfortable winners in the end up, Keith.
Yeah, I agree. My one concern, another major concern was right at the death on the final whistle. It looked as if Cameron Carter-Vickers had gone down with something. I guess that's something that the boys will be asking Brendan Rodgers about. But, if Cameron Carter-Vickers has got a bad one, I'm astonished, by the way, that Callum McGregor managed to see the game out. Yeah. And then you've got hamstring issues for Iheanacho. We said the other night, didn't we? They're a hamstring injury away for Iheanacho, and they've got a serious problem up top. So, as much as I think Brendan Rodgers will be delighted with the character and the guts that were displayed there tonight, there's some serious running repairs going to be required here. It looks, by the looks of it. What did you see? Did you see what happened with Cameron Carter-Vickers at the end, Fraser?
I didn't see what happened because I was running down the stairs to join you. So you tell me. I left in 90 minutes, so missed injury time, so I could join you guys. Hopefully they'll let me back in for the mix zone as well. But no idea. We'll find out. I think Mick Gannon's doing the manager and I'm doing some players, so that'll come out soon enough. I was with you when Callum McGregor went down after that red card incident. That looked a real nasty one in real time, just to the bare eye here. And
it looks even worse in slow motion, mate.
Did it? It just looked like a studs up job, and they kicked into the studs. That's what it looked like from up in the stand. And I thought, the Hearts camp will be rubbing their hands at this ahead of Sunday. But Celtic players falling like flies. But no, it's made of sturdy stuff, isn't it, the skipper? The last thing Celtic need at this moment in time is losing Callum McGregor, because I don't care what anyone says at this moment in time, he is still the engine of this Celtic team. They need him badly, and for their sake, they've got to hope he's fit for Sunday.
Yeah, agreed.
Fraser, I know you've got post-match duties to get on with. Hopefully they'll let you back in, but I'll let you go for now. Thanks for joining.
I thought Arne Engels was good tonight. Back in. I thought the delivery were absolutely on point. Every corner he took caused havoc. I think they've got to find a way to get Arne Engels back into the team regularly. £11 million player there. He can't complain about not being given a budget in transfer markets when he's signed a player for £11 million a year before and don't play him. So I thought he looked more like himself tonight, and expect him to be back in there on Sunday again.
Completely agree. Fraser, thanks again.
Okay, guys. Cheers.
Cheers, Fraser. Fraser isn't the only one, Keith, who is lauding Arne Engels. Some of the fans are sending comments in. And if you want to get involved in tonight's show, please do so. Let us know your thoughts on Celtic's win and Rangers and Aberdeen's pretty woeful defeats. Craig says, Keith, Rodgers is shocking leaving a guy like Engels out. He's not been worse than any other player and showed tonight why he's £9 million worth. John says it's about time Celtic up the tempo for a game. Obi Pon Kenobi says, shades of Celtic but worrying injuries. If Kenny had a finish, he could have had 3 tonight. Nygren played his best game. Genghis says, showed grit and fight tonight, but should be wary of getting too carried away. Sturm Graz didn't look great. Canadian Hammer's another one saying Kenny should have scored 3. Celtic need a striker. Basically, Celtic fans pretty happy, but we should have won by more.
Yeah, I mean, look, do you know what? Fine margins in these games. If Benjamin Nygren didn't have a head like a Swedish toaster, Celtic could have won that by 4 or 5. But equally, you know, Sturm Graz hit the post in the first half at a point in the game. And I thought Celtic were slow out the blocks again for half an hour. They got into their stride the longer the first half went on, and they kind of picked up there in the second half. But, you know, there was still some issues. It's still not the sort of intensity that Brendan Rodgers would be looking for in terms of the performance. I thought they were sluggish in that first half an hour. They go a goal behind, but it was a good response. And, you know, it's 3 points on the board, which is massive in terms of trying to get qualification. And it's also, you know, a little bit of crumb of comfort for Scotland's coefficient into the bargain. So, yeah, a lot for Brendan Rodgers to feel better about after that performance tonight. I think there was a reconnection with the supporters.
Yep.
When Celtic did get up to speed, it felt much more like a European night at Celtic Park. So that's all in the positive kind of channel. But there were some negatives there again. I do agree with Fraser. I thought that was the best I've seen Arne Engels in a long time. And we kind of suspected that he would do something tactically or strategically. We start in 11 tonight, Brendan Rodgers, and that was to get Engels into the midfield, push Nygren out onto the right hand side. Bits of that worked, bits of it didn't. And down the left hand side was where all the real threat was coming from. And I think one of the massive positives for Celtic was Kieran Tierney, because that was far more like the Kieran Tierney that Celtic fans remember. And he's linking up really well there with Tonetke. And, you know, that's really promising. If the pair of them start to get a relationship working on that left flank, because they were causing all sorts of problems. And in parts of the game when Celtic weren't playing well, the two of them were always threatening, always getting forward and always probing. So that's encouraging as well.
In the comments, Berzuno says we look like a souped-up Ford Fiesta in that second half. Progress. William Sloan is one of a few people, though, talking about Johnny Kenny now. Obviously, looks like it will be him starting against Hearts on Sunday, perhaps. But Shin Yamada, what happened to Shin Yamada? I thought when Shin first come on in the Old Firm game, didn't he? I thought he did okay. He's just disappeared from matchday squads.
He's just one that Brendan Rodgers clearly doesn't fancy, Daniel. And, you know, it's not for the first time he's been given players that he just decides that they're just not first team ready. You'll need to get called up though now, won't you? You'll need to be involved because it looks. Do you know what I think? I think that Brendan Rodgers took a bit of a gamble tonight, a massive gamble. You don't go down after a minute and a half of a game unless there was a concern there, and it looked as if Ian actually knew right away that, you know, something that was troubling him had clearly sort of panicked him early in the game. Now, has he got off early enough that he's not done serious damage? But even if it's just a tweak, it's going to make him a doubt for the weekend.
Yeah.
And I think it was clearly, and you can understand why he wanted Alistair Johnson back in that team as quickly as possible, because of the energy that he provides down that right-hand side. And I think Alistair Johnson, even though he's a right-back, I think he increases the tempo of the whole team from his, you know, his running power and everything that he provides on that right-hand side. I think it gets Celtic ticking. So I could totally understand why Brendan Rodgers would have been desperate to get him in there, but that's another kind of risk that's clearly backfired. And once you know, if you've got a hamstring problem and you exacerbate it, as Alistair Johnston clearly has done tonight, that's not great. That looks as if that could be an even longer stint in the sideline second time round.
For this massive game on Sunday, Keith, I would put forward that Colby Donovan should now start if Alistair Johnston is out, ahead of Anthony Ralston. And Ross also says a big win tonight. Sunday's the big one. Kenny up front at Wheat Arts doesn't fill me with confidence. Would you start Johnny Kenny if Ian Atcho is out? Or would you try something a bit different?
No, I think he has to. Unless Maeda's back in contention for that one, which seems
he was in the stands.
Unlikely. Maeda could play through the middle. Look, I don't want to be unfair on Johnny Kenny or unkind, because I thought he did quite a lot of good things tonight.
Yeah,
his movement, his ability to sort of sixth sense to run into the right areas in the penalty box. That's what you're looking for from your striker. His finishing needs tidied up clearly. But again, that could be just a confidence thing. He might be one of these guys that once one of them flies into the top corner, he gets in a run. I thought there was positives from him. Put it this way: if you're comparing Celtic striker with Rangers main striker tonight, as I'm sure we'll come along to later, there was far more for Celtic to be pleased about Johnny Kenny's performance than there was from Youssef Chermiti for Rangers.
Green Machine in the comments says I would play Nygren as a false nine. Look, I could be wrong, and I agree with you. I thought Johnny Kenny's work rate was absolutely phenomenal. Never gave up. He was brilliant in that regard. I just get a feeling that Brendan Rodgers might try something a bit different for Sunday. I don't know. Could be completely wrong.
I don't know. I think John Kenny probably did enough there. He's snatching at chances, and maybe that's only natural. Desperate to impress. He knows that he's going to struggle for chances in terms of minutes on the pitch. But if Ian Atcho does look as if he might be out for a while, then maybe that might help relax him a little bit. If he feels he's going in as the clear first pick, I certainly saw enough from him, and to think that he was a handful for Sturm Graz, even if he's finishing, as I said, should have been a bit tidier.
And just before we move on from Celtic, Keith, this is the last show we'll do before that massive game at Tynecastle. A few people asking what your predictions are. How do you think it will go?
I've got to be honest. I've fancied Hearts for the last wee while. I just think they're building something. I think there's a momentum behind them. I think the place will be absolutely electric. You know what it's like going to Tynecastle. Even in times when Hearts aren't doing so well, for Celtic Rangers to go there, the place is tasty. Now put that on steroids with where Hearts are, the possibility for them to actually open up an 8-point lead over Celtic, and then you've got to factor into that the exertions, because Celtic went to the well and back tonight to get that result. The injuries that have been added. I think Celtic are in for a difficult afternoon there. Lunchtime kick-off on Sunday. I'd fancy Hearts, to be perfectly honest with you.
You give me a score?
I'll go 2-1 Hearts.
Marzuno right away says, yes, that's the kiss of death for Hearts. Thanks, Keith.
He's probably not far wrong.
Obviously, the other two games tonight, we mentioned Aberdeen. What a brutal night for them. But brutal as well, Keith, for Rangers. A little bit earlier on, I actually caught up with our esteemed colleague, Scott McDermott, in Brann Bergen for a post-match chat. Shall we hear what he had to say?
Yeah, was he taking it well?
Took it better than I thought, to be honest, but here's what he had to say. Joined now on the Hotline Live by the one and only Scott McDermott, all the way from Norway. The Danny Röhl era was showing so much promise at first, Scott, but not a great night for Rangers.
No, we probably should have known better, Daniel, with this group of players. This team, as you say, started with a bit of positivity, a bit of hope. I think when Danny Röhl went over to the away support before the game, got a great reception. They were chanting his name. They've even got a new song for him already. And he'd have been desperate to get off to a good start by winning tonight, but it's another really poor performance and result in Europe for Rangers. And if he thought he had a tough job when he came in on Monday, I think he realised it's probably even tougher than he anticipated.
I heard you asking him that in the post-match press conference, Scott, and I thought quite refreshingly, Danny Röhl didn't quite just say, "Oh yes, it's going to be murdered," but he didn't. Most managers would say, "Oh no, I knew what I was prepared for." But I think you're right. I think he looked at that and thinks this is a huge job.
I think publicly he'll try and back the players as much as he can, but privately, Daniel, I think he'll have been shocked by that performance tonight. Just in terms of a lack of quality, a real chronic lack of quality, and I suppose that comes down to obviously the recruitment. But this is a squad that he's been left with. He can't do anything until January. I think he'll probably be thinking about January already. As ridiculous as that sounds, to try and get a few of his own. Or a few new players in. And also before the game, the biggest disappointment for me was before the game, he's talking about what he wanted to see for his team. And I know it's only a couple of days training, but he wanted to see aggression. He wanted to see real intensity in their play. He talked about hunting in packs and swarming Brann, and I don't think we've seen any of that tonight. Now, as I say, I know he's only maybe had 48 hours to work with these players, but that's a worry for me that you didn't even see wee signs of it. I thought the first kind of 10-20 minutes you'd have seen Rangers players really coming out the traps, trying to impress the manager, trying to do exactly what he's told them the last couple of days. Apart from tiny little bits in terms of how they pressed and how they get back into shape off the ball, I didn't really see any of that, and that'll be a big concern. And the thing is about this Rangers schedule at the moment, he's got very little time on the training pitch to try and change things or try and instill that in them. I mean, what's he going to have now? A recovery day tomorrow, and then 1 day's training on Saturday to prepare for Kilmarnock at Ibrox on Sunday. So he's got a massive job in his hands.
The other player that I need to ask you about, Scott, is Yusuf Chermiti. To be honest, he's taken an absolute bashing on social media tonight, and I know that's not the be all and end all, but he just struggles to live up to that £8 million price tag.
Aye, and look, he's still a young boy, but I think we're right to single him out because he's been signed for a huge fee, and Rangers need him. No, Rangers need him to start performing. He's no 18, 19. He's not an untried kid. No, he's already been in the Premier. He's got Premier League experience. He's got experience in Portugal's top flight as well. He was given a big opportunity tonight by Danny Rowe to go and impress. Picked ahead of Majovski up front. And you're right, I think he struggled. For a start, he couldn't stay on his feet. I mean, I don't know if he had the right boots on, but he was slipping all over the place in the first half, which didn't help. And I just don't think he holds the ball up well enough to let Rangers get up the pitch. I thought initially tonight, Danny Rowe's kind of approach was to be quite direct and get the ball forward as soon as they could at the earliest opportunity. But when you do that, you need your striker to hold it up, to give you a chance to get players around them to go and create chances. He just didn't do enough of that. And he had one chance in the game, the first half. I've not seen it back. I don't know just how good a chance it was with the header. You probably know better, but it's a free header. Aye, and he just didn't make the keeper work. And it was a big chance for him tonight. It's not as if he only get 45 minutes or even an hour. I think he was on for even longer than that. When we put Majovski on, we expected Chermiti to come off, but the two of them actually went up front together. And again, showed very little. And eventually Danilo came on from near the end. So, listen, it's a big problem for Rangers because when you spend £8 million, I know Kevin Thelwell spoke the other day about how there's potential there and he'll eventually come good. Rangers don't have time for that. They've let go a guy in Cyril Dessers who took a bit of stick, not just a bit of stick, a lot of stick himself at Rangers. That was the guy that was guaranteeing you 25 goals a season. Chermiti, with all due respect to him, looks a million miles away from scoring a goal for Rangers, and that's a big issue going forward for the manager.
I was also kind of intrigued, Scott, to see Nasser Giga brought back into the team instead of Derek Cornelius. I thought he looked a bag of nerves again, Giga. Do you think he was in for Kelly at the weekend?
Well, it's interesting because I think there will be changes. I was surprised tonight, not so much that Giga started, but I thought he'd have went with Cornelius at left back. Just to kind of show them up a wee bit. Knowing it was going to be a tough away game. And Brann, Bergen were always going to be right up for this. This was a huge occasion for them. further on in their season. They had a good result against Utrecht in the Europa League. They were always going to be up for it. They were always going to be physical. So I thought Cornelius might play at left back. But you're right, I thought Giga was poor again. I think for the free kick goal, the second goal, he loses his man. Loses his man too easily. I thought he dithered on the ball too much at times tonight as well. But again, these are the players that Danny Rowell's got to work with. So he has to come up with solutions. He has to make them better. And as we've just touched on, he's not got a lot of time to do it.
And just very finally, Scott, I know Danny Rowe probably wouldn't have been anticipating having to go and kind of negotiate with the fans after his first 90 minutes, but he did. I mean, look, as Rangers fans, is that not a good thing, seeing a manager go over and converse with them?
I think it is, and I think that's why he did it. He spoke at the post-match press conference about treating them with a bit of respect, showing them respect for all the travelling that they've done, saying they deserve better, and he's right. And I think supporters probably appreciated that. We all know he's going to have to get results and quickly, but they're backing him. They backed him at the start of the game, they backed him again at the end, and we're not sure exactly what was said, obviously, but I think they'd appreciated the sentiment of going over to address them. And as I say, once they did it, they were chanting his name again. So look, they're going to give this guy a chance, but he's under no illusions. He's going to get results fast.
Scott, it's always a pleasure having you in the Hotline Live. Treif, safe travels up the road when the time comes.
Cheers, mate.
Scott there in Norway. Keith, before I get your take on the game, the Rangers fans, there seems to be a theme to all their comments, so let me run through a few of these. Rangers is okay says, evening Keith and Danny. Genuinely, I would never say this if it wasn't in the cards. Stuart and Theo will need to walk now. This is going to turn really ugly with our fans. Already videos circulating at Bergen Airport. It's only going to get worse. We're all behind Danny Rowe, whatever happens, but they two fraudsters need to go. It's turning really ugly. Brian says, Theo brought players who clearly can't handle the jersey. Our Europa League final team would have overran this current Rangers team after 15 minutes. Ronald says Theo has to go immediately to say his son was not ready for Everton but good enough for Rangers. Shocking board decision. Chermiti deal needs investigated. John says Chermiti isn't worth 800k, let alone 8 million.
John's quite funny, isn't he? I saw that other comment that he put up. Theo picked the wrong team tonight for sure.
No, that was good.
And you know something? I'm laughing, and the reason it's funny because maybe it's true. I looked at that starting 11, and it had 7 of Kevin Thelwell's summer signings in it, and you got pretty much what you expected from a team with 7 of Kevin Thelwell's summer signings in it. Look, I don't know. I might be a million miles out, but that was an instant suspicion. I looked at it and I thought, right, okay. And then I was kind of hopeful for, as far as Danny Rowell's credibility is concerned, I was thinking, right, okay, well, even if there had been some influence, and which would be natural if you're only just in the place a couple of days, you're looking for advice or guidance or whatever. But he saw that first 45 minutes for himself, and I really thought this will be interesting at half-time. What's he going to do? How's he going to change it? Because we were told that was one of his kind of key strengths, an ability to change in-game, whether it's system, personnel. He didn't change anything. And that would be a bit of a worry. Has he been influenced by Kevin Thelwell with that selection? It actually wouldn't surprise me. I've got to be honest with you. What did we see? What have we learned from Danny Rowell's first game in charge? Well, one, you can't throw him to the wolves on this one because he's, as I said, 2 minutes in the door. It's not on him. But what I did say to you before the game would be what he didn't want was a right sore face. He needed signs of an improvement. He needed to show people that, even in a very short space of time, there's something there. He's changed something. What did we see that he changed? Well, he went basically 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1. He doesn't have a set formation. He's made that clear. He's flexible, and sort of tactics come on a game by game basis. I think what was noticeable was that Rangers were getting the ball forward a lot more than they were under Russell Martin. I'd previously said if Russell Martin had invented football, if he'd been the pioneer, the guy that gave football to the world, the first ever football manager, the world would have given him football back and said, "You just keep that." It was brutal to watch. So, was there a little bit more like impetus and kind of purpose about what Rangers were doing? I guess, but it wasn't very impressive. And you can put that down as Scott was doing there, probably the quality of the players within the system. But I'd be concerned. Even Russell Martin, towards the end, had kind of figured out that he had to go back to the players that were already there and put as many of them into that starting lineup as he could. And the Rangers were doing that. It still wasn't great, but it was a bit better. And tonight you saw that the quality of the individuals that were in that starting lineup, just nowhere near it. I mean, miles and miles and miles off it. And to such an extent, and that other comment about the team that Rangers had that got to the Europa League final, they destroy that team, absolutely destroy it. So yes, I mean, so much for them to work out. Such a hard position for Danny Rowell to find himself in. I'm glad that the supporters that were there were getting behind him. He's going to need it. He's going to need their patience. I'm not sure how much he'll get, especially if there isn't a big uptick in the levels of performance. And I think there is a general kind of concern that I'm not sure how, if he was influenced into picking that starting 11 a little bit. It really wouldn't surprise me. And also now you've got Rangers sitting. How was it by the end? How is it by the end? They were certainly by the end. Sitting 36 out of 36.
-0 goal difference. Aberdeen the same in the Conference League, rock bottom.
It's embarrassing. That's an embarrassment on both counts from both clubs. In Scottish football, we get embarrassed enough.
Yeah.
Usually it happens in the early rounds in the summer when teams that celebrated qualifying for the qualifiers then get papped out by teams from God knows where. But that is a really embarrassing statistic. Horrible.
Yeah. Before we can actually hear in a couple of minutes, Keith, from the Rangers manager, Danny Rowell, and his captain, James Tavernier, who were talking after the game. But before that, I want you to just go back just for a minute or two to talk about this thing about being influenced over the... I mean, do you really think Kevin Thelwell would have said to Danny Rowell, look, going to play some of the players we've brought in, going to play some of the players I've brought in?
I don't know if it was based on that. Do I think that there was a conversation between the pair of them about what the team should look like? Yeah, I do. And I'm not saying there's anything out of the ordinary with that either, because you might expect it if a guy was just 2 minutes in the door and maybe would lean on somebody for advice. What I have heard, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, I don't know, but I suspect it is correct. I think that Kevin Thelwell had a hand in picking the team at the weekend when Stevie Smith was in charge. So, yeah, would it surprise me if there was a bit of influence from the sporting director in that lineup? Not in the slightest. It'll be really interesting to see, and maybe we'll get a better gauge for it when we see what Danny Rowell's next starting lineup looks like. I doubt it'll look anything like the one that he just put out there.
Well, before we wrap up, Keith, let's hear from the Rangers manager and his captain, James Tavernier. They were talking a little bit earlier on after full time, and here's what they had to say.
Danny, can I ask for your assessment of that performance, and did you expect better from your players tonight?
Yeah, of course. I think we have high standards, and we should have high standards in Rangers. I think this is very important to understand. I think for me it was clear that everything could be right, but of course we are very disappointed today at 3-0 defeat. We have to say the opponent was better. They deserved the win. They were more aggressive, they won more second balls, and yeah, I think today I saw a lot where we are at the moment, what is the reality, but also it's very clear we have not so much time to change something, but I want to see again a step forward on Sunday, and it means we have to win this game.
Where do you think you are, and are you maybe further behind than you initially thought when you took the job on?
No, I think there are reasons why we didn't win in the past so much games. I think you saw this today again. my job is find the solution as soon as possible with this group. I think I saw a lot about individual performances. I think this is also, but more as well how we act as a group, and this is the things we have to improve.
Can I ask you, at full time you went over to the fans, you climbed over the hoardings to get close to them. Did you have an exchange with them? What was the conversation?
Yeah, I think at first I apologize for this defeat and this performance. They travel a lot for the team. They're always there. This club has a lot of patient fans, and they deserve this. And that was for me very important to show that I understand them. But I said as well to them as well. I working very hard to improve this group of players, to step up and get results.
Danny, does this feel like a bigger job now than even a few days ago, having watched that performance?
Yeah, I think this is said this, yeah, the reality. After 2 days, you hoped, of course, to have a good start to win this game and have quick the turnaround, but I think this is in football sometimes just a wish. You have to work hard, and it goes not overnight just when you talk, because we have to do something better on the pitch. And tomorrow we will straight go in the meeting. I will show them, and we have to work, and we have to use every single minute to improve this performance and should not come again.
Are you convinced these players are good enough to turn it around?
I see a lot of potential, what we have to improve. I think this is very important to understand, and this is what I told my players as well. I want to see that every individual player tried everything to make this step forward, and this is my job. Yeah, and for this is I took this job over to develop them and improve them, and we have to do it individual, but also as a group. And there's a lot of things what we can do.
It's just a disgraceful performance. Simple as that. It's all the years I've been here. You know, it's for the consistency of poor performance that we're putting in. I've not experienced it before. You know, some of us show our aggression after the games, after we get beat. You expect all the lads to take that in, but all individually we have to look at ourselves much harder, because it's, you know, you can get instructions from managers, but we simply have to put that on the pitch, and we were just second best. First balls, second balls, you know, not enough fight. And I shouldn't be saying that for a player of Rangers. You know, that should be the given. You should want to fight, go for the ball. You know, even if it's a scrappy game, you've got to make it a scrappy game. But it's just far too easy at this minute playing against us, and that's the hurtful thing about this all.
Is it extra concerning when there's not that fight, when it's the manager's first game in charge as well?
It can be, but it's happened, you know, throughout the season. You know, we've games, like I said last week, the weekend, that we can put in a performance for 45, but we can't make that consistent for 90 minutes. But today it was, you know, we created a couple of chances first half. We conceded. We knew we came in at half time. We can obviously get back into this game, and then we concede two more bad goals from ourselves. So we're just shooting ourselves here.
James, does it worry you that, you know, the new manager coming in, not just you but the whole team, you're playing for your place, you've got somebody you've got to impress him, he's going to maybe want to make changes when he gets to January? People be worried about, you know, they're placing the team, they're placing his plans, given the way performance like that tonight?
Everybody should be. You should be playing for the shirt. You know, you come to this club to play. It's an honour to come and play for this club. You want to make history playing for this club, and that's nowhere near the requirements that were shown tonight. And the managers came in. You know, it's a couple of days on the training pitch. You only can give certain instructions, but us as ourselves have to put that on the pitch. You know,
can the manager fix that? Is that something the manager can fix? That desire to win, that desire to chase and, you know, track and make tackles.
He can give us the best. He can give us the best opportunity, but it comes within as a player to fight, to give it your all. That's within. You know, I don't think that's something that's taught. I think you've either got it, you haven't, and we're just clearly not showing that at this moment in time.
James, spoke to you a lot.
You seem angry, James. Is that anger in the dressing room?
Oh, I'm raging. This is what I'm saying. It's like first time I've been in this position, been at this club, and this not consistent games that we've been certain basic levels that we've not been performing at, and that's what's making me rage. It's the amount of chats that we've had after games. You know, you want it to sink into players, but it just isn't at the minute, and that's what I'm raging at.
But that's what I mean. Are the rest of the players as angry as you are?
I hope they are. I will say not in the head, but I hope they are, and because we need to fix this, and we only can do this is by everyone playing for the shirt, chipping in, and giving the role.
James Tavernier there. Keith, before we get on that, Gianni, our old pal, has asked what's our thoughts of the treatment of Thelwell and Stewart at the airport. A lot of videos doing the rounds on social media in the last hour or so. Obviously, we've been on here preparing for this, but I think you may have been able to get a look at some of the clips that are doing the rounds.
I saw very briefly one clip from the airport. I can't say I'm surprised. Do I like it? Absolutely not. But you know, tempers are fraying here, and I've got to be honest. I actually was a little bit concerned ahead of this trip to Norway that there could be a flashpoint that you know, because the fans will get in very close proximity at some point, whether it's the team hotel, the airport, whatever. There is an opportunity for fans to vent a little bit. Obviously, if Rangers had won the game tonight, then I don't think there's a problem at all. But it was it was an inept performance, and you know, whether or not Kevin Thelwell had any influence over the team that started the selection of it, he had his fingerprints all over it in any case, because these are the players that he's brought in, and they're clearly nowhere near the required standard. But we've been saying that for a while. The thing with bringing in his son is brazen, and if he didn't understand that would kind of raise a level of concern, suspicion, anger, then he's just not intelligent enough to have a job of that kind of nature, because that is obvious. That and they seem to accept that there was a concern there, but just thought, I will do it anyway. Look, I'm never going to endorse behaviour like that from supporters, but I can totally understand how frustrated they are. I can totally understand that if they see the guy, they'll let them know how they feel. I hope it doesn't go any further than that at any point.
Yeah.
You know, look, it's not nice to see, but I've got to be honest. I mean, I've been one of Kevin Thelwell's biggest critics. I'm sure that he hasn't liked a lot of stuff that I've been saying. And I can't take any of it back. He's put himself in this position. He's getting really handsomely paid for it, by the way. And he's making decisions which, in his capacity as the guy that's meant to be the decision maker who makes things better, all he's doing is making them worse, both for the football club and for himself. And, you know, it's not nice. It's unsavoury. But, it's almost as if, I don't know, has he been caught by surprise? He kind of hinted at that the other day. That I felt was a terrible thing to say as well. That, you know, I didn't realise what a big club this was. What does that say about the research you've done, about your knowledge of the Scottish game? It just screams ignorance stroke arrogance. So, you know, he's really not helped himself.
I get him asking you how long a piece of string is. But do you think Thelwell and maybe even Stewart will be, after tonight, thinking, I don't need this. I really completely misjudged this job, the size of it. It felt like something had to give for weeks with Russell Martin. He went. I still have that feeling now, kind of. I don't know how this all changes.
Well, let me be cynical about that, Daniel. To be perfectly honest, what you're suggesting is, will Kevin Thelwell think, nah, I had enough, I'm going to resign? Well, if Kevin Thelwell was to do that, then he'd be waving goodbye to whatever severance package he might hope to achieve if and when he gets the tap on the shoulder. Do I think Kevin Thelwell's going to walk away because people are shouting abuse at him? No, I don't. I think that he now hunkers down and hopes, against all hope, that Danny Rowell looks like a miracle appointment and that Robbie Thelwell looks like a miracle appointment. What do I think is likely to be the outcome? I think, and it's what I've said, and I keep saying it, it will get worse before it gets better for Rangers. And I think the most likely scenario is that Danny Rowell's going to struggle. He might be a genius. I don't know what he's going to do with these players. I don't know what Pep Guardiola could do with them. But I think he's going to struggle. I think this is moving into a different phase now for Andrew Kavanagh at the club. He was full of good intentions. He's actually shown, which is maybe commendable in a way, that he wants to stick with the guys for as long as he can. But I think if the Danny Rowell thing goes badly wrong, and if they get to a point over the coming months where they feel another change is going to have to be made, then I think Kevin Thelwell right now has just walked in through the front doors of the last chance saloon. And I think if they get to that point and Andrew Kavanagh feels it has to change again, well, you know, in my view, the position of Kevin Thelwell and probably Patrick Stewart, chief exec, they are untenable already. But if this bad situation gets even worse over the weeks and months ahead, then I think Andrew Kavanagh, and it might be the moment that he needs, a sort of moment of recalibration, think, all right, okay, wipe this slate clean again and start again. And maybe next time when he does it, have a little bit more humility and an understanding to go and speak to people that know the Scottish game, to go and speak to people, hire people or be around people who know what Rangers require, because he's put his trust in people that have got absolutely no idea what's required at Rangers. And he's getting the end results that you know, as a consequence.
Aye. Well, look, whatever happens, we'll be here on Hotline Live to cover it all. But for tonight, I think that brings us to the end. Keith, it's always a pleasure. I'll let you get to your bed.
Yeah, long night that.
I know. To see those back-to-back games feels like an eternity. I wouldn't have it any different. I know,
you're kind of trying to talk about the Rangers game. You're forgetting half about it because you just watched the Celtic game. But there you go. Listen, that's what happens when they both get papped out of the Champions League and into the Europa League at the same time. There's big problems for them both, Daniel. Celtic aren't out of the woods yet. That's a good performance. It gives them a little bit of solid ground to build on. But, you know, I think with the pair of them right now, every time they step onto a pitch, there's a potential problem. And the next problem for Celtic will arrive at the other end of the M8 on Sunday lunchtime. And it's going to be fascinating to see what Brendan Rodgers has at his disposal for that game and what he comes up with. Because Hearts right now look serious.
And we'll be back on Sunday to pour over that huge game and all the other Premiership fixtures this weekend. Thank you so much for your comments tonight. Sorry, Keith.
6 p.m. on Sunday, Daniel, is it? 6
p.m. on Sunday sounds good to me.
Okay, mate.
6 p.m. on Sunday. Thanks for the comments. Hope you can join us then. And yeah, thanks for watching.